Rose, glad to be with you. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna, good day. It's March 19th, 2023. We're here in Melrose, Florida at Prabhupada House for the monthly Bhakti Yoga Enlightenment program hosted by Anasuya and Lakshmi Priya Prabhus. So today we're studying Bhagavad Gita chapter 18 entitled Conclusion, the Perfection of Renunciation. We're on text 73.
And all these are marked accordingly. So if you'd like the one that's marked accordingly.
Okay.
Steve, would you like them? Or you good?
I'll just listen.
So we'll start with the Sanskrit words responsibly.
Okay, it's more.
Yeah, that's
Better eyes.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Arjuna
Arjuna,
Uvacha
Vacha,
Nashto
Nashto,
Moha
Moha,
Smitir
Smitir,
Labta
Labda,
Tvat
Vat,
Prasadan
Prasadana,
Mayachuta
Mayachuta,
Stitosmi
Titosmi,
Gata Sandeha
Yatasandeha,
Karishe
Karishe,
Vachanam
Vachanam,
Tava
Tava,
Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna, Vacha,
Nashto Moha Smitir Labta
Yasto Moha, Smitir Labda,
Tvat Prasadan Mayachuta
Prasada, Mayachuta,
Stitosmi Gata Sandeha
Tosmi Gata Sandeha,
Karishe Vachanam Tava
Karishe Vachanam Tava,
Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Vacha,
Nashto Moha Smitir Labta
Nasto Moha, Smitir Labda,
Tvat Prasadan Mayachuta
Prasada, Mayachuta,
Stitosmi Gata Sandeha
Tosmi Gata Sandeha,
Karishe Vachanam Tava
Karishe Vachanam Tava,
Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Vacha,
Nashto Moha Smitir Labta
Nasto Moha, Smitir Labda,
Tvat Prasadan Mayachuta
Prasada, Mayachuta,
Stitosmi Gata Sandeha
Tosmi Gata Sandeha,
Karishe Vachanam Tava
Karishe Vachanam Tava, Arjuna Vacha,
Arjuna Uvacha
Nasto Moha, Smitir Labda,
Nashto Moha Smitir Labta
Prasada, Mayachuta,
Tvat Prasadan Mayachuta
Tosmi Gata Sandeha,
Stitosmi Gata Sandeha
Karishe Vachanam Tava,
Karishe Vachanam Tava
Arjuna Vacha,
Arjuna Vacha Nashto Moha Smitir Labta
Tvat Prasadan Mayachuta,
Tvat Prasadan Mayachuta Stitosmi Gata Sandeha Karishe Vachanam Tava.
Arjuna Yuvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Nashtramaha Smriti Gatha.
Nashtamoha Smriti Labda.
Svatprasadan Mayachite.
Prasadan Mayachutam.
Sishasmi Kata Sandeya.
Stitosmi Gata Sandeha.
Krishe Vachanam Tava.
Karishe Vachanam Tava. Okay. We'll go to the word meanings. Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Yuvacha.
Arjuna said.
Arjuna said.
Nashta.
Nashta.
Dispelled.
Dispelled.
Moha.
Moha.
Illusion.
Illusion.
Smriti.
Smriti.
Memory.
Memory.
Labda.
Labda.
Regained.
Regained.
Tvat prasadat.
Prasadat.
By your mercy.
By your mercy.
Maya.
Maya.
By me.
By me.
Achyuta.
Achyuta.
O infallible Krishna.
O infallible Krishna.
Stita.
Sita.
Situated.
Situated.
Asmi.
Asmi.
I am.
I am.
Gata.
Gata.
Removed.
Removed.
Sandeha.
Sandeha.
All doubts.
All doubts.
Karishe.
Karishe.
I shall execute.
I shall execute.
Vachanam.
Vachanam.
Order.
Order.
Tava.
Tava.
Your.
Your.
Okay. So translation. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I've regained my memory by your mercy, and I am now firm and free from doubt, and am prepared to act according to your instructions. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The constitutional position of a living entity represented by Arjuna is that he has to act according to the order of the Supreme Lord. He is meant for self-discipline. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the actual position of the living entity is that of eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Forgetting this principle, the living entity becomes conditioned by material nature, but in serving the Supreme Lord, he becomes the liberated servant of God. The living entity's constitutional position is to be servitor. He either has to serve the illusory Maya or the Supreme Lord. If he serves the Supreme Lord, he is in his normal condition. But if he prefers to serve the illusory external energy, then certainly he will be in bondage. In illusion, the living entity is serving in this material world. He is bound by his lust and desires, yet he thinks of himself as the master of the world. This is called illusion. When a person is liberated, his illusion is over, and he voluntarily surrenders unto the Supreme to act according to his desires. The last illusion, the last snare of Maya to trap the living entity, is the proposition that he is God. The living entity thinks that he is no longer a conditioned soul, but God. He is so unintelligent that he does not think that if he were God, then how could he be in doubt? That he does not consider. So that is the last snare of illusion. Actually, to become free from the illusory energy is to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and agree to act according to his order. The word moha is very important in this verse. Moha refers to that which is opposed to knowledge. Actually, real knowledge is the understanding that every living being is eternally servitor of the Lord. But instead of thinking oneself in that position, the living entity thinks that he is not servant, that he is the master of this material world, for he wants to lord it over the material nature. That is his illusion. This illusion can be overcome by the mercy of the Lord or by the mercy of a pure devotee. When that illusion is over, one agrees to act in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is acting according to Krishna's order. A conditioned soul illusioned by the external energy of matter does not know that the Supreme Lord is the master who is full of knowledge and who is the proprietor of everything. Whatever he desires, he can bestow upon his devotees. He is the friend of everyone, and he is especially inclined to his devotee. He is the controller of this material nature and of all living entities. He is also the controller of inexhaustible time, and he is full of all opulences and all potencies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can even give himself to the devotee. One who does not know him is under the spell of illusion. He does not become a devotee, but a servitor of Maya. Arjuna, however, after hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, became free from all illusion. He could understand that Krishna was not only his friend, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he understood Krishna faction. So to study Bhagavad Gita is to understand Krishna faction. When a person is in full knowledge, he naturally surrenders to Krishna. When Arjuna understood that it was Krishna's plan to reduce the unnecessary increase of population, he agreed to fight according to Krishna's desire. He again took up his weapons, his arrows and bow, to fight under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna. So I'm going to recite a few more mantras to continue to invoke an auspicious atmosphere in our gathering. Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militamyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayamrupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpata Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 73, Arjuna Vacha Nashto Mohas Mitir Labdha Tvat Prasadan Maya Chuta Stitosmi Gata Sandeha Karishe Vachanam Tava. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy, and I am now firm and free from doubt, and I'm prepared to act according to your instructions. Okay. So our host, Lakshmi Priyananda Sunya, asked that a theme be what we call transformative communication as it relates to Bhagavad Gita, as it relates to Bhakti Yoga. So we have a course entitled Bhagavad Gita, the source of transformative communication. Also called Bhagavad Gita Yogic Principles and Transformative Coaching. Okay, so there's a lot of language here about illusion and knowledge, ignorance and light or knowledge. Okay. Right. So there's a text earlier in Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna is the main speaker, and it's this whole Bhagavad Gita. It's for the most part, it's a dialogue between two personalities, Arjuna and Krishna. And for the most part, Arjuna is like asking questions, and Krishna is responding. Now, this is a verse spoken by Arjuna. This is a verse spoken by Arjuna, and so Krishna says at one point that these verses of Bhagavad Gita, they reveal everything, like the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Okay, so It's said, Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Haya Andakar. Krishna is like the sun, Maya is like darkness. And so let's say an analogy, like, so let's say it's like pitch dark out. Okay, we're in the dark, maybe outside, or maybe in our homes or something. Okay, let's say it's outside and it's dark. So we're in fear. We're in fear, like, is that someone behind the tree who's going to attack me? Is that even a tree, or is it some sort of, is it a bear, or was it, right, if I take another step, am I going to fall and trip and hurt myself? And what was that sound? Okay, but then let's say even with a few glimmers of sunlight, not even necessarily the blazing sun in the noon sky, just with a few glimmers of the sunrise, no more fear. It's like, oh no, that's just a fence post. That's not someone who's going to attack me. And I can see, and actually it's a nice, it's a nice path here for me to walk on. Not just a squirrel. There's nothing to be scared of, making little squirrel sounds. Okay, so then with light, so light represents the knowledge. So in any area, right? Basically, the fear is fear of the unknown, fear of the unknown, fear of lack of knowledge. So they asked me to speak on this topic, like transformation and Bhagavad Gita. Oh, in a sense, any novel is a story of transformation. So Bhagavad Gita, this isn't a novel, this is actual history. And it's a story of transformation. Maybe it took about an hour to speak or something. And so I gave a few verses and for them to choose, Anasuya and Lakshmi Priya. And they chose this of the few verses. So this is a very key transformational verse, because here Arjuna is speaking and he's representing his transformation. Now we can compare this. Let's go 16 and a half chapters earlier. 16 and a half chapters earlier to text 7 of chapter 2. So there, Arjuna speaking again. Yet most of the verses in this book is spoken by Krishna, but many are spoken by Arjuna. So he says in chapter 2, at the beginning, he says, Kapanya dosha patasvabhava pricham vitvam dharma pricham vitvam dharma vimuda yat shreya syan nishchita bhuitan me shishasteham sadimantvam prabha. So Arjuna says, now I'm confused. I'm confused about my duty. And I've lost all my composure due to weakness. In this condition, I ask you, please instruct me. Now I'm your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So he's confused and he's weak. Now we can hear Arjuna is very clear. He's clear, he's powerful. My illusion is gone. I've regained my memory. Okay. So we can say he underwent a transformation. So Hare Krishna, welcome. Are you Michaelia?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Michaela.
Michaela, sorry. Okay. So we're discussing this Bhagavad Gita. Now, so between beginning of chapter 2, end of chapter 18, there's intense transformation in Arjuna. He goes from confused, weak, to clear, strong, powerful, potent, purposeful. Okay, so what's happening here? All right, so first there's there is a saying, people don't care what you know till they know that you care. So we often emphasize a great way to care is to show that we understand. The Christian philosopher Paul Tillich said, the first duty of love is to listen. So again, we're going back like 16, 17 chapters. So Arjuna is expressing his weakness, his confusion, he's confused, he's sad, he's scared, his body is trembling, even though he's this great warrior. He's feeling weak and fragile. And Krishna, of course, Arjuna and Krishna, they have this tremendous rapport and trust between them coming into the start of the book. Still, Krishna listens. Krishna listens. He listens. Right? So that when we're deeply received, that someone's really receiving, then our trust deepens. People don't care what you know till they know that you care. So then Arjuna knows, even from the beginning, he knows that Krishna knows a lot. That's an understatement. But then at some point after Krishna is deeply listened, then Arjuna is like, because Arjuna's expressing his confusion. I don't want to fight this battle. And I'll share something. See, like it's described, Arjuna was an illusion, and he was in the fog, and he was in the darkness. And like that. Now, the qualities that Arjuna was showing and displaying when he was confused and in darkness were tremendously virtuous qualities. Okay, if we look at chapter 1, the beginning of chapter 2, I can say that this aspect, because I was maybe first introduced to Bhagavad Gita in 1980, long time ago, I know. It's a while ago. And I read it from cover to cover when I was backpacking through Europe. I backpacked for like 4 months. I stopped for like 2 weeks at a bhakti ashram outside of Florence, Italy called Villa Vrindavan, and read it cover to cover. They couldn't find any other way to engage me. So why don't you just read Bhagavad Gita? So, so that was because when Arjuna was disalienated from self like that. So in other words, like in a sense, the consciousness that's being rejected in Arjuna is quite a virtuous consciousness. He was showing compassion. He was showing forgiveness. He was showing soft-heartedness. All these, like I would say, for 99.999% of the population, myself included, to be imbibing those soft-hearted, gentle, forgiving qualities that Arjuna showed at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, that would be progress. And that for years that was confusing for me. Like, well, because Arjuna was showing so many good qualities, and it's true. And then his transformation too, from that which is good to that which is spiritually transcendental, even to the good. Okay. So because even though Arjuna was exhibiting kindness and virtue, like he had just other, we won't get into the whole history, but he had other persons and groups of persons treat him and his dear brothers terrible. And they tried to kill them, and they usurped their property and insulted their wife. And I mean, it's just terrible. But he wasn't like, I'm going to smash them. I'm going to be the ruler of the world, which he could have. But he's like, no. Let me just humbly tolerate. It was like very, like that. Still, yeah, it's very, very. That's why this is not like a. It's right. This is not like a simplistic, like the good guys and the bad. It's just no. It's like very. Still, Arjuna's consciousness there towards the start of Bhagavad Gita, and this gets to the essence, the foundation of this transformation. Arjuna's consciousness was still based on what we'll call the bodily conception of life. It was based on the illusion that I'm the spine. His idea is like, I'll enjoy more if I don't fight them and kill them, because then I'll be more sad if I do kill them. And then what about yeah, so it was still what's called a material calculation. It was quite a high level material calculation that like today, like practically no one can even approach that. But still it was based on the illusion. It was based on the illusion that on this body, either the gross material body is described in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Bhumira po nalovaya kamana buddhayacha ankaravi akankara itiyame bina prakriyasana. There's 5 gross material elements: earth, water, air, fire, ether, and 3 subtle material elements: mind, intelligence, and false ego. Okay. Okay. And so um, so Arjuna's illusion there at the beginning of Gita, he was still identifying himself with the gross and subtle material body. Okay, so let's say the external body. This is just like, yeah, I want to enjoy food and sex and seeing attractive things, and I want to, right? And then subtle. Hello, David. Welcome. Yeah, and then subtle could be just like, yes, I'm a member of this community. I'm an American citizen. I'm a Gators fan. I'm a yes, okay, like that. So like these subtle identifications. Okay. So and Arjuna says in this verse, he's regained his memory. Earlier, so this is because this chapter 18, it's sort of like a summary of the Gita, conclusion of perfection of renunciation. Chapter 2 is a summary. Chapter 2 is entitled Summary of Bhagavad Gita. So in chapter 2 also, as Krishna describes, it's a very psychological verse. Jayato visham pumsa sangasateshu bijayate sangat sanjayate kamak kodo bijayate. So Krishna describes it's kind of like a downward cycle that results in being completely bewildered and memory being lost. And it starts with, while contemplating the objects of the senses. While contemplating the objects of the senses, one develops attachment for them. Okay, so like, oh, I need to, now it could be, let's call it an overt, gross, like, oh yes, I need that comfortable thing, or it could be, I need that respect. I need that person to adore me. I need to be special in this way. It can be gross or subtle objects of the senses. And then from the attachment, then comes lust. Lust means I don't want that. I need it. And when there's lust, there's no empathy. There's not, then it's just like, I'm ready to manipulate, to fulfill that need, what I'm telling this. And it's all based on the misconception that I am this body. Okay. And then from lust, when lust is frustrated, we all experience, we get angry. Okay. I'm not getting the respect I want. I'm not getting the money I want. I'm not getting, and we get angry and resentful. And then there's no joyful giving. Then we fall. Then we become completely degraded, and our consciousness becomes covered. So that was Arjuna's situation. So we can, again, so this verse is kind of like the conclusion of Arjuna's transformation. This is the last verse that Arjuna speaks in Bhagavad Gita. And so, okay. So we mentioned chapter 7 of text 7 of chapter 2. Arjuna, after being heard by Krishna, he says, okay, yeah, I know you're caring about me. So now, people don't care what you know till they know that you care. The first duty of love is to listen. So now, please share transformational, transcendental knowledge with me. So essentially, so sometimes we speak about in the foundation of transformative communication, the essence is to see the world from someone else's perspective. We might not agree with that perspective, but we dedicate ourselves to see the world from someone else's perspective. And then I know when someone's really seeing the world from my perspective, then I'm supported to be open to other perspectives that could be liberating for me. So when Arjuna says, okay, I'm open, okay, like Arjuna expresses his point of view, I'm not going to fight this battle. And Arjuna gives several reasons why this is a bad idea. So Arjuna is firm. Since he's clear in his confusion, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to do this. At the same time, he's not cynical. He's not like, forget it. He's like, here's my position. And I'm suffering and I'm confused and I'm miserable and I'm suffering. And I know that Krishna, that you're capable to give me enlightenment, and I'm not in enlightenment now. So Arjuna was open. So in that openness, Krishna starts his transformational instructions with some heavy feedback. Ashotjan anvashotastram pragibadam chabasase gatasuna agatasuscha nanushotanti pandita. Krishna says, you're lamenting, you're mourning for that which is not worthy of grief. The wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. Natvevaham jatuna samnatvam nameja nadipana cheva nabhavishama sarveva amatakram. Krishna says, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings on the battlefield, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Dinasmin nita dehe omaram yo pinam jira tata dehantara praptir diras tatra namuyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from childhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the time of death. A sober, self-realized person is not bewildered by such change. And Krishna goes on. Avinasi tu tadvidi. Krishna says, that which pervades the entire body, the soul that we are, that irreducible quanta of consciousness that continues on as the body changes from toddler body to teenage body to the soul never dies. Antabhati me deha nityashakta saririna. Anasi no. Anasi no prameyasya tasma didyasya bharata. Krishna says, only the material body, the immeasurable, eternal, indestructible soul is subject to destruction. So this is key foundational knowledge for solid transformation, not just some cliche transformation, not just some hypey experience. This is the philosophical basis for transformation. Okay. And yeah, I was just reading Srila Prabhupada's some Bhagavatam lecture, 6th canto, and Prabhupada there is just spells out very things that I say so many times. So Prabhupada was in that lecture. He said, like, we can say, Prabhupada was emphasizing, we can say, the soul never dies, only the body dies. But then Prabhupada emphasized. So that's actually not, he said, that's not precisely true. The body is already dead. Yeah. This is where I got those things that I always say. But that's and Prabhupada gave the analogy. Just if we have a vehicle, if we have a car, right? Let's say if there's an alien visitor from Mars or the galaxy Andromeda or something, and they might look at Earth from a distance and go, oh, yes, there's these living entities called Chevrolet and Renault and Volkswagen and Mercedes, and then they go here and there. And sometimes there's these other living entities who are parasites. These little humans, they get in and they suck the blood of the controlling living entities on the planet Earth. But the aliens aren't seeing so much. I mean, in some ways it is, in some ways we are. slaves of our cars and things like that, whether the body, vehicle, or but actually the car is always dead. It's made of metal, rubber, plastic. It's always dead. It appears alive when we get inside. So similarly, the body is always dead. It's made of dead stuff. It appears alive when we, the atomic unit of sentience, the spirit, soul, the spark, the part and parcel of God, when we're inside, then the body appears alive, but it's really always dead. Then there's one particular change of body that we call death. Okay, but the body's always dead. So Prabhupada was emphasizing that point. So these are philosophical foundations for true transformation of spirit, transformation of heart from fear and darkness to the eternal joy of light. Okay. All right. So that's at the core. So Arjuna getting, not to base my life over what will make the body or the subtle material body happy or sad, but to base my life on who I am as an eternal spirit soul. Right, and that's where this verse in purport goes. So, but actually, there's maybe in many places you can get. There's this knowledge. Oh, we're not the body. We're not the body. Like that knowledge. It's there. In different places. Okay. But then, okay, we're not the car. We're the driver of the car. We're not the finger. We're the owner of the finger. We don't say I finger. We say my finger, which means there's a finger and then there's the owner of the finger. It's two entities. Okay. But then let's say the spirit soul who's fully enlightened in realizing I'm a spirit soul. What does the spirit soul do? What do you do? I don't know. Go on the internet. I don't know. So that's where the science of knowledge called bhakti provides special, additional, vital information. So right here at the beginning of the purport, Prabhupada says, the constitutional position of a living entity represented by Arjuna is he asked to act according to the order of the Supreme Lord. Jivara Supoi Krishnera Nishidas, Krishnera Tatasta Shakti Beta Beta Prakash. That means so the nature of the spirit soul is to serve God with love and devotion. Krishna is the name of God. To serve God with love and devotion. So that represents like a fuller understanding of Arjuna's transformation and our opportunity for our transformation. So Arjuna was dedicating his service propensities to serve the senses. There's a song by Bob Dylan, you gotta serve somebody, So he was in a deep Christian phase at that time. I saw Bob Dylan in concert, sing that song. He had lots of gospel singers and things like that. You got to serve somebody. He goes, you're either going to serve the devil, or you're going to serve the Lord. I'm giving myself permission to quote Bob Dylan because what he's saying there, it is consistent with Bhagavad Gita. It is completely consistent. So we're going to serve. Actually, we don't have a choice to not serve. This word dharma, prichami, tvam dharma samudya cheta. So Arjuna said at the beginning, I'm confused about my dharma, but now he's not confused. So dharma means that which cannot ever be separated from a thing. Like we would not say that it's the dharma of fire to cook. You can have a fire that doesn't cook. We would say it's the dharma of fire to be hot. Can't separate heat from fire. It's the dharma of sugar to be sweet. Okay, it's the dharma of the eternal spirit souls that we are to serve. That's it. That's who we are. We're going to serve. Got to serve somebody. Yeah. And in one sense, taking the lyric, it could be Dylan used the term devil. Okay, but here we could use the word used here is Maya. The word here is Maya. Now Maya is not a devil. Maya is actually a demigoddess, and she's a great servant of Krishna. Shri Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka Chaiva Yasi Bhuvanani Bibharti Durga Ichan Upamapiyasya Chacheshtate Sa Govinda Mari Pushatamam Bhajami. That says that Maya, Durga, Kali, different names, she's like the warden of this whole material world, and she's doing the word just like the warden serves the king, serves the president. Okay, so the warden of a prison is a very dear servant of the government, just as the director of the university system is a very dear servant of the government. So it's not the conception of like, there's this evil devil, okay, but there is Maya, who is a great servant of Krishna, keeping us, keeping us in illusion to the extent that we want to be kept in illusion and distanced from remembering our true identity as servants of God, servants of Krishna. So that's Arjuna's transformation on the foundation of realizing I'm not the body, I'm spirit soul. And the nature of the spirit soul is to serve God and not to serve the senses of this body in a concentrated or extended form. So then he gets that, and now he's clear what his dharma is. Now he's clear what his duty is. Just read that verse again. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy, and I am now firm and free from doubt and prepared to act according to your instructions." So, okay. Yes. So Prabhupada says in the second sentence of the purport, he is meant for self-discipline. The constitutional position of a living entity represented by Arjuna is that he has to act according to the order of the Supreme Lord. He is meant for self-discipline. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the actual position of the living entity is that of eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Forgetting this principle, the living entity becomes conditioned by material nature, but in serving the Supreme Lord, he becomes the liberated servant of God. The living entity's constitutional position is to be servitor. He either has to serve the illusion Maya or the Supreme Lord. If he serves the Supreme Lord, he's in his normal condition. So basically, to just give ourselves to bhakti yoga, service to Krishna, that's what being normal is. That's what being normal is. And so this is like abnormal to be in forgetfulness of who we are as spirit souls. It seems normal because we're associating with others who are committed to the abnormality of prison life, of prison life. Okay. So Prabhupada says it's self-discipline. So because we're in this state, where we've conditioned ourselves like Arjuna. Of course, Arjuna, in one sense, he's sort of playing a role for our benefit, playing a role of a conditioned soul. But so we're in the conditioned state. So to transfer our propensity for service from Maya to God, Krishna, that we need to retrain ourselves. And that requires some discipline, just like in any field. If we want to develop any sort of mastery, whether it's playing a musical instrument or to become expert in tennis or golf, or if we want to get a PhD in physics, it requires we discipline ourselves. It requires sometimes even when I don't feel like, or especially when I don't feel like, I'm going to clear 3 hours for writing that book. That just came random. Yeah. I'm going to practice those chords on the guitar because I want to be on the big stage. Now I'm going to practice. I'm going to do tennis 8 hours today, 5 days this week, because I want to be at professional tournament level. And if I just, I'll do what I feel. And I feel like going to the beach and lounging around, scrolling on the internet. Well, no, that's not going to work to manifest my tennis champion greatness. No, we need. So similarly with spiritual life, we really want to become expert, master, excellent in self-realization, spiritual life. Some discipline, not just any discipline, but discipline just like as Arjuna is guided by Krishna. So we have our self-realized bhakti yoga, Krishna consciousness master, Srila Prabhupada, and he gives us some guidelines. He gives us some guidelines, some things that are helpful if we do this, we'll get more and more joyful realization of who we are as soul. And if we kind of avoid doing that, then that'll also help. Right? So some discipline. And it's described in the Bhagavatam, Deho Deham Bajam Viloke Kastan Kaman Arti Vid Bujamye Tapu Divyam Puchakayin Satvam Shivya Jaspan Brahma Sakam Chwanantam. That's in ancient times, before ancient times, Lord Rishabhadev speaking to his sons headed by Bharat. And he says, like this human life, that's the thing. It's described in the Vedanta Sutra, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, that this human, because we found this is a vehicle. We gave the vehicle analogy, like an alien from the Andromeda galaxy or something like that. Okay, that comes. The car is not a living entity, but the body's already dead. Yes, but and this human form body, this is a really nice gift. It's a really nice opportunity. We're not the body, and this body is a special vehicle. It's a special vehicle where we can achieve self-realization in God consciousness and restore and rejuvenate our original nature as servants of Krishna. And so it's like a shame to squander that opportunity. And that's why we got Krishna Arjuna here speaking to us for our benefit in this verse, Arjuna. And so Lord Rishabhadev says to his sons headed by Bharat, he said, yeah, in this human form, which is such a really nice gift, really nice opportunity. Yeah, don't settle for those so-called enjoyments that are available vid bujamye to the stool eaters, the pigs and the hogs. It's not about insulting animals, pigs and hogs, but the idea is every species has its special gift in God's creation in the human form. Jivasti taf jigasa natiyas karma be the human form. Our special gift and opportunity is to not just engage in animal activities like eating, sleeping, mating, defending, but to really go for the absolute truth, go for that happiness, that bliss, that fulfillment, that peace that will never be destroyed by time. So as far as those guidelines, those rules of the road for going towards self-realization, that's the whole science, that's the whole program. And it's actually not particularly complicated. But you might say the core thing, like there's the to do and to not to do. Okay, just like, okay, so those are some serious on the bhakti path. At some point, they might naturally decide, okay, I'm not going to eat meat anymore, because the idea is like to actually understand this philosophy and to do this work, to do this spiritual process, it requires like a peaceful internal environment where we're able to make subtle distinctions. So if I'm eating the result of gross violence, that's not going to help. So it's not even about I shouldn't, it's sin. It's just like for the consciousness I want to cultivate, it's not going to help. Just again, let's take the tennis player wants to become, on the world tour. It's not even like you're bad if you just lounge around and watch TV. It's not about bad or good. Just like you want that goal, well, no, you get up at 5 a.m. and you're at the courts as soon as it's light enough. Okay. So the main to-do, we already did it, starting about hour 15 ago. Marie, also known as Malini Devi Dasi. So she led us in. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that to chant this mantra, it's mantra yoga, mantra meditation, it's the most recommended process for transcendental transformation, the most recommended process, particularly in this age. Yes. So because we talked about the essence is transforming our propensity for service from Maya to God or Krishna, transforming our conception from service to the material senses. Vishikina Vishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uttama, to pleasing the senses of God. So this chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We can say it's a prayer. It's a prayer. The essential meaning, the essential spirit of the mantra is please God, please Krishna, please engage me in your service. Because again, back to the Dylan quote, we're going to serve somebody. So please give me the sincerity. Please give me the sincerity and intelligence, Krishna, to engage in your service. So it's a prayer, and it's also the answer to the prayer, because the foundational way, the foundational transcendental transformational way we can engage in service to God is by chanting God's names. And that's universal in every tradition. You know, I resided for several years, well, for about 7-8 years in the Middle East. For some of those years, I resided in Muslim villages, and we would get together, and they had, just like we have our japa beads, they have their masbacha. So we had programs together, and we'd be chanting the names of God in different languages. In the Old Testament, you had King David, David HaMelech, and it was really his son Solomon built the temple, but David got it going. So what was David doing? David HaMelech. He was going around Jerusalem with his associates. They were dressed a lot like Hare Krishnas. I'm just saying. They were, and you can describe, and with shiltzilim, and that's the Hebrew for cymbals, with shiltzilim and trumpets and drums and harps, and he was dancing in ecstasy as they were singing the names of God. Jesus says, "Hallowed be thy name." The Buddhist tradition, Om Mani Padme Hum. Right? And there's traditions in Buddhism where their main practice is names of the Supreme. So this is universal. But yeah, sure, Prabhupada, if he would go to places like Tehran and like that, and or like a Christian monastery, he would say, like, you already have a name for God. Okay, chant that. Like, are you chanting it? In most cases, oh no, maybe once in a while, but not like seriously. Chant that. It wasn't like, oh, you need. But then in most places, he would say, okay, you don't have a name of God. Here's one. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. So yeah. So I know I've spent a lot of my life endeavoring to facilitate transformation. And I know for me personally, by far the most potent transformational process I know is chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We could get into how come it works. We won't go much into it, but I'll just close briefly, and then I'd be glad to hear your comments, realizations, and questions. It's described in the Vedas, Namo Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigra Punshiro Nichimukta Binat Vam Namanamina, that God's names are non-different from God. That's why whatever we believe or not believe, we chant the names of Krishna, we chant the names of God, and we're associated with God. So it's transformation. It's transformation. Yeah. That, yes. Yeah. So each verse here. That's why we quote the Sanskrit and Prabhupada's English. It reveals truth, and each vibration in those texts, they're non-different from the truth they reveal. That's why it's a transformational experience. Chanting in kirtan, hearing and listening to Bhagavad Gita, Shinvatam Sakta Krishna Punya Shravan Kirtana. Vijantastoya Bhajani Viduno T Sarit Satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul, Paramatma, in the heart of all living entities, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, personally cleanses the heart from material desire for the devotee, for the sincere devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So this verse again, text 73 of chapter 18, spoken by Arjuna. Arjuna uvacha nashto mohas mitir labdha tvat prasadan maya chuta stitosmi gata sandeha karishe vachanam tava. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy, and I am now firm and free from doubt, and am prepared to act according to your instructions. Hare Krishna. Thank you for listening. Thanks for your presence. Thanks for absorbing yourself in Bhagavad Gita. I welcome at this time, if anyone would like to ask any questions or share any comments or realizations at this time. Steve.
I'm going to ask a question based on this past week. I've been putting on the observation table in my mind. I noticed that I've observed when I was younger, I watched 10 Commandments, and there was this God up in heaven. And then I got it more into the Eastern religion. And then I'd see the churches and the synagogues. There was this external God. Then I got the idea of an internal.
Internal,
But it was still a separate thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would think of God as, and I hear that with the devotion to God, with you, or to Krishna. So it's still me and it, but yet I've also heard from the Buddhists, there is that, or from Jesus, I and my Father are one. So there's no more devotion there. There's a one. Same thing with Christians. I've heard them talking about getting off the wheel. So there's a merging. Mm-hmm. So is the ultimate devotion, and it just doesn't. I'm supposed to right now in my life question the separation, even if it's devotion, of where's that in the picture of
the oneness.
Yeah, I and my Father are one. What about that?
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate your question. I appreciate your philosophical, inquiring intellect. Yes. So
it is an intellectual thing.
It's intellectual, and it gets right to the heart of the matter. So Bhagavad Gita addresses that. So the essential philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, the technical term, addresses your question. The technical term is Achintya Beta Beta Tattva, which means inconceivable and simultaneous oneness and difference. I'm pausing there on purpose. Let that sink in. Inconceivable and simultaneous oneness and difference. Okay. So in a sense, we are one with God. It could be, there's places in Bhagavad Gita where Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and Prabhupada, they say, your grandmother is God.
Yeah.
It's there. Okay. We don't. You are God. Your grandmother's God.
Yeah.
Okay. And so in a sense, we're God. We're one with God. In another sense, we're not God. There's separation. They're both true. So let's open the lid and see how are they both true simultaneously. So achintya beta beta tattva, simultaneous oneness and difference. An analogy often given, and Srila Prabhupada, he goes
oneness, indifference or indifference?
Oneness
or
and difference. Oneness and difference. Not
difference.
Yeah, not indifference as in not caring.
Oh.
Simultaneous.
Okay, got it.
Inconceivable. Oneness and difference. Achintya beta beta tattva. Simultaneous, inconceivable, oneness and difference.
Duality.
Yeah, duality and non-duality.
Okay.
Simultaneously. So an analogy often given to help us understand is say, okay, let's say it's about 7 a.m. in the morning, and I'm here in this room, I might say, oh, the sun's coming into the house. And that's true, because the sun rays are non-different from the sun, right? The sun rays are non-different from the sun. So it's true to say, the sun's entering my home. But at the same time, it's not, when I say the sun's entering my home, it's not like I'm saying, like the sun globe is coming into this home in Melrose. It's coming into David Wolf's home in Electric. So the sun rays are one. They are the sun. Their sun. And at the same time, there's a distinction between the sun rays and the sun globe. So there's similarities. Both the sun globe and the sun rays, they emanate heat and light. So they're one. And then there's also difference. There's a difference in quantity. There's, like it's not the sun globe heats the entire solar system, the sun rays, and just a little bit. So similarly, we are eternal and full of bliss and knowledge, just like God is. So it can be said, so we're like rays of God. So we're one with God. At the same time, there's a distinction.
Is there a dharma of the soul that is not to worship? Is the dharma to worship, or is it to merge? Is it different? Is the dharma both?
The dharma is to serve, to worship. The merging, okay, there is a separation. And that separation, that gap can be closed. That gap can be closed. Okay, that gap can be closed through service, through loving devotional service. It's not that, so I'll use the term Krishna for God, the personality of God. So the oneness in this Bhagavad Gita process and philosophy, the oneness is about where our desires become one with God's desires. So we're one in desire. But a text I quoted earlier, Natvevaham Jatunasam, Natvam Name Janadipa, Nachevana Bhavishima Sarveva Natakparam. It's not that we ever lose our spiritual identity. We can artificially try to keep it covered, but we're eternally persons, spiritual persons, and Krishna is eternally a spiritual person. And we have some self-determination, and we can direct our natural propensity for desire however we choose. When we choose to align my desire with Krishna's desire, that's oneness in personalism. It's not impersonal, but on a personal foundation. We're eternally persons, and our opportunity for our bliss is to align our personal desires with God's personal desires. That's the merging of desire.
No more aligning, it's the same.
Aligning, merging. Yeah. We never lose our eternal spiritual identity. As some example, let's say there's a green tree, a big tree with lots of green leaves. Hello, Laura, welcome. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's say there's a green tree, and then a green bird flies into the green tree, right? And so we can say that the bird merged into the tree, but that's just illusion. According to our perception, the bird merged into the tree, but actually the bird keeps its identity. Similarly, like let's say you have a drop in the ocean. Oh, the drops merge in the ocean, but actually each drop has its individuality.
Even when it goes into the ocean?
What's that?
Even when it goes back into the ocean?
There are still individual drops, yeah. But it appears to merge.
I didn't know that.
Sure. So there are some spiritual paths where the idea is complete merging and losing our spiritual personality. But that's just kind of like artificial. That's like the green bird merging into the green tree. We're always eternally individuals, and we're spiritually satisfied when we direct our propensity for service to serve the supreme personality of Godhead 100%, without wanting to be God. Again, in a sense, we are God, just as the sun rays are the sun, but also the sun rays are different from the sun globe.
I mean, you're telling me that, but I have to experience it.
Mhm.
And right now I'm a drop. I'll let you know.
Okay, I appreciate your question and how you.
I don't know about what happens when I die. So it's when I go back to the ocean. I don't know whether it'll be me experiencing my drop anymore, which doesn't alter me taking advantage of now, but still, it's a big question. You're saying,
It's a big question, and we don't, and yeah, and
I don't know from experience.
yeah, right, and so experience, yeah. So you're asking the sorts of questions Arjuna asked in Bhagavad Gita, and then Arjuna, he's getting knowledge that reveals everything, like the sun lights up everything in the daytime. So we can
I like the idea of my will and God's will.
aligned. Nice, you like that idea?
Well, that I can experience
That's it, that we can experience, yeah.
because I'm here as a drop, and I'm also having this separation with this thing I've been taught, God.
Yes.
So,
Right. So I like it because I 10 Commandments and Charlton Heston.
yeah, that guy.
So God is external. There's truth to that, and also God's in the heart. And there's truth to that.
But there's still me in those two entities.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Not sure
But
that's
then
real.
me, the spirit, soul, and the body, I too am a spark of God, just as I'm like the sun ray. So in one sense, the sun ray is one with the sun. At the same time, the sun ray has a separate existence. Right at the moment, and we can open the door to the possibility that eternally. It's described. Yam yam vapi smran bhavam tyajat yante kalevram tam tamevete kantya sadata bhava bhavita. So we can know, just as this whole process, 16 and a half chapters, Arjuna transforms from confusion and darkness to clarity. So that text describes that whatever consciousness we develop in this body, that'll take us to our next body. We're eternally individuals. We're not going to escape.
When I hear eternal, the only thing I can conceive of really is my experience right now.
Right
It
now.
feels eternal.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's all. I can't go any further.
I
But it
appreciate
does feel eternal.
Yeah, feels eternal to be present right now.
Yeah, because this drop can feel eternal.
Yeah.
Because I'm a drop with that ability, but I don't know when the drop stops breathing.
Right.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
So you let me know.
Marie?
The drop never ever stop breathing. The drop never ever stop breathing.
Did it start breathing?
Stop. You say, I will let you know when the drop stop breathing.
Yes.
So the separation, in this verse we have is my illusion is now dispelled, and I have gained my memory. And by your mercy, I am all firm and free from doubts. And the only thing that's really separating us, because we are in the ocean, there is no way we can separate ourselves from the ocean. There is no separation ever. But we separate ourselves with our illusion.
Yeah.
And I lost memory.
Correct. Yeah.
So I can regain my memory now.
Yes.
And I can step out of doubts and illusion right now. And I will discover that I never stop breathing. This body stopped breathing, but it's like if you go to a blacksmith, there's a bellow, and the bellow is, it's moving in and out, and there is air going in and out, but that's all it is. It's just a bellow with a soul in it. But the soul never stopped breathing. I'm never away from the ocean.
That's beautiful.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you, Steve. Any other comments, questions, or realizations? Paya.
Share a couple of things that I've appreciated for your class. And well, a couple of weeks ago, I think I listened to from an old class, but
yeah,
hearing that Maya is a servant of Krishna.
Yeah.
I think for the longest time, I've looked at Maya as like you said, Maya is not the devil. Maya is a servant of Krishna.
She's serving Krishna.
So if we're in illusion, it's serving.
Yeah.
So even that is like if I'm in illusion,
yeah,
and I'm serving the Lord as well.
Yeah.
And sorry.
How so?
Well, that's what I was coming to. Is like, well, Krishna, but Maya is a servant of Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm in illusion, doing my best to serve the Lord. But if I'm in illusion, it's because Krishna wants me in illusion. Is that correct? And also, I will do my best to come out of illusion by gaining my memory by the Lord's mercy.
Lord's mercy. Okay. Thanks for your sharing. Well, it's just like, so Krishna wants us to support him to expand his bliss by serving him lovingly and consciously. At the same time, there's no meaning to love if it's forced. So I just, about 10 verses earlier from the one we're reading today, Krishna, he's spoken practically the whole Bhagavad Gita. And then he says to Arjuna, Vimrishyate tada sheshena yate chasti tatakuru. He says, okay, Arjuna, consider carefully what I have said, deliberate on it fully, and then do as you wish to do. No force, right? Because love means a voluntary exchange of service and affection between two conscious entities with free will. So it's not that Krishna wants us in illusion. At the same time, Krishna will facilitate us. If I'm taking a stand, no, sometimes Prabhupada will say, in material life, we're disconnected from Krishna. But then Prabhupada said, that's not really true. We're never disconnected, as Marie just indicated. We're not disconnected. We forget that we're connected. And then, so forget, that's the illusion, that's the mind. So if our stance is, I want to be the center, I want to do my David Wolf God project, I don't want to remember Krishna, then Krishna will give us facility. He'll facilitate us. But that's Krishna's mercy, because then we'll have a particular experience in the illusion, and that experience is meant to move us. Yesterday in class, Marie quoted the verse, Tatena kampam susamikshamanon bunjana eva kritam vipakam vidvagva purbir vidadan namaste jivetuya mukti pade sadayapa. Because when we're in forgetfulness of who we are, spirit, soul, servant of Krishna, in case you haven't noticed, we suffer. It's miserable. So that misery, then we get so even those things, those disturbances that are the apparent source of our misery, they're never the source of our misery. They're the catalyst. I'm the source of my misery. But then those things, then the devotional heart, let that move me deeper to my inspiration to serve Krishna with love and devotion. So just as it's not like the king or the president wants people, ideally, they don't want people to be criminals and commit crimes and steal and damage property and murder. They don't want people to do that. But a certain percentage of people are going to do those things. So then, out of mercy, ideally, the king, the government, creates prison houses. So you can say, prison, that's just for torture and punishment. Well, not really. Now, the freedom is constrained, and it's not a nice place. It's not rainbows and butterflies. It's not a nice place. But then the idea, ideally, it's the compassion of the king that in the prison, people, the inhabitants of the prison house can contemplate, how did I get here? There was a particular consciousness. Okay, let me become law abiding. Let me get out of here and become law abiding. Then I'll be happy and I won't violate the rights of others. And then if I want to go on a vacation to the mountains, I can do that. And if I want to visit family. So the illusion, it's comes from Krishna, but it's not like he wants it.
Yeah, there's a huge distinction. I'm now appreciating. Thank you for that very much. That clarity, like want versus facilitation. That's what Krishna is. The Maya is serving me.
Yeah.
Versus it's not. Krishna doesn't want me to be in Maya. Krishna wants me to be awake.
Yeah.
And that would be by his mercy as well. And so, I'm just appreciating that. So it's facilitation. And if I'm in illusion and if they come out of it, then it's easy for me to learn, okay, I was in illusion and I was being facilitated by Krishna. But so that mercy or that Maya is serving Krishna. That's how I'm starting to understand that Maya is serving Krishna.
Okay, key principle. Yeah, it's not the archaic, Judeo-Christian, like Satan who is against God. It's not that conception. Right. So Krishna is a supreme facilitator, and he can facilitate directly through his spiritual energy or facilitate through his material energy. And whether we're facilitated through spiritual material energy, that depends on the quality of our desire. And Krishna, he's not even directly, he's direct facilitating through the Paramatma, the super soul in our heart. Yadi Bhutimat Satram Shimadorji Tame Baba. So Srila Prabhupada gives an example from his life when he had several children. And he said, there was, so at one point there was a fan spinning slowly. And his little son, maybe 2 or 3 years old, really wanted to, I want to touch it. But Prabhupada in his father role was, no, you don't want to touch the fan. But it was temper tantrum, and the son was insistent. So Prabhupada could say it's not like it's going to seriously damage the finger, quote unquote. So Prabhupada said, okay, to his 3-year-old, okay, go play. Okay. So the kid touched the fan. Oh, okay. How was that experience? I'm not going to do that again. So that's
I'm going to listen to Dad.
I'm going to listen to Dad. Yeah. What's your next instruction? Thank you. Exactly. So that's what. So idea is if we're and that relates. We say a lot in personal transformation. Experience your experience. Feel your feelings. But the idea isn't just some new age feel your feelings. The idea, if we're really alive and we're awake and we're experiencing our experience and we're aware of our feelings and our thoughts, then we'll get realization that this whole experiment of doing my own God project away from service to Krishna, this is that smarts, that hurts. Let that move me. Whereas if I'm numb, if I'm on painkillers and I'm intoxicating myself, if I'm numb, then I'm not going to have those painful, shameful experiences that can be an impetus for me to turn to God. Hare Krishna.
Also, Maya is a servant of Krishna in the sense that she makes sure that nobody in close connection with Krishna who is not pure at heart.
Yeah.
So she constantly tests. So that's how also she's in servant. So it looks like Lucifer, or it looks like Satan, or it looks like, but it's not. It's just, it's merciful. She serves Krishna to make sure that we don't keep any material desire, we don't keep any impurity in our heart, to prepare ourselves to be with the Supreme Pure, because we cannot be with the Supreme Pure unless our heart is completely pure either.
Yeah, thanks for that element of it. Right, so Maya's serving us, because again, the prison house, essentially, ultimately, it's not about punishment and torture, but it's about rehabilitation, ideally. And then also, Maya's screening, because same thing in a healthy society, you don't want people with a criminal mentality who are going to violate others' rights. So that's what the prison's for. So you get rehabilitated. So when you get out, you're going to follow the laws and like that. So similarly, like in Krishna Loka, there's nothing to do except there's nothing to do except serve Krishna in unlimited trillions of ways. There's no, so as long as we have any material desires, then there's no space for us there. There's no space for us there. So it's like, and those who've practiced bhakti for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 40 years, we have the experience that, because maybe some things I was grossly attracted to 45 years ago. I'm not, but then there's more and more subtle diversions and attractions and temptations of Maya, because Maya's working on this sincere devotee, as Melanie said, as like a test. Like, how prepared are we to 100% serve Krishna with no subtle or gross material desires? Laura.
In this conversation, I'm also thinking about what Maurice said is the soul doesn't stop breathing, which is a phenomenal visual, as well as reevaluating how I've thought about that. And in talking about Maya, it seems like Maya is necessary in a way, but also sounds more like Kuan Yin than Satan in this conversation, which is a second twist to my maybe thinking differently today, which is fascinating. I had no expectations, just to enjoy myself with everyone today, but to actually I have two perceptions challenged.
You're having
half an hour.
some paradigm shifting happening.
Nice.
Glad you're here, Laura. Thanks for sharing that.
Nice to be here.
And this whole Maya's consort is named Shiva, and then you all have heard of Shiva. And so just to make so Shiva's there, like he's kind of like got this pitchfork thing going on, and it kind of depicted, kind of like the Judeo-Christian devil has a similar depiction. So I think a permissible conjecture is, there's some influence, the kind of Shiva demigod influence got to the Middle East and like that. But Shiva, like Maya, he's also kind of in charge of the prison house, but he's also a Vaishnavanam Yatasabu. He's also he's serving for the pleasure of Krishna.
I was just wanting to make a small comment about your prison analogy.
Yeah.
That, like Maya is, like Durga, the prison. And it would be nice if in a prison there was such a system of a check. Is that person ready to go back? Because and if we think about it, it's really nice that there is that system, that nobody goes back in close relationship with Krishna in the spiritual world with everyone who is pure is not completely pure.
Yeah.
In the same way as that we can imagine an ideal prison system where it will not about finishing your sentence per se, like
Right.
it is now,
Right.
but it will be like when you're qualified.
Yeah.
When you're qualified, because so many, with the prison system, the prisoners go out and they are dangerous to people. And we don't want that. We will want that.
Right.
So the system, the prison system that Krishna created, of course, with the supreme intelligence, is more refined. It's not about the length of our sentence, it's about our qualification.
Yeah. So we move towards some enlightened incarceration system by seeing how Krishna sets it up. Thanks for that. So Anasuya, are we going to do a japa?
Yes.
Okay,
I just need to let them.
great. Okay. Yeah, so, all right, so we experienced a beginning program, mantra yoga through Marie leading kirtan. Next part of our program is going to be, for those who choose to participate, next part of the program will be mantra chanting. And so let's give out japa beads to those who would like to participate in it. Steve, thanks for joining. I'd say if you want to stay for japa, I'm 99% sure you'll have a powerful experience of who you are as an eternal spirit soul.
I walk to the car. Thank you.
I didn't bring my beads today. Do you have?
We got this. Yeah, we got this.
Don't back up. What can you do?